God whispers to us in our pleasures, speaks in our conscience, but shouts in our pains. C.S. Lewis. I've been thinking about one question for a long time. Why does pain exist in a world that's supposed to be good? I don't think I can answer this question in a way that would be objective truth for everyone, but at the very least I can answer it for myself. In this video I want to share some thoughts and reflections that I find meaningful. Hello everyone, my name is Timothy and today we are going to talk about pain. He had the rare gift of explaining complex things in a way that everyone could understand. J.R.R. Tolkien. Lewis lived through the First World War, where he served as a soldier and witnessed realities of human suffering firsthand. That experience, combined with the intellectual climate of his time, made questions about pain, morality, God, feels less abstract and more urgent. For many readers today, he is remembered not only as a storyteller, but one of the most influential Christian thinkers of the modern era. Time magazine once described him as the most convincing apologist for Christianity of his time. The book The Problem of Pain was first published in 1940 and can be seen as one of his early attempts to confront one of the hardest philosophical questions directly: how to understand suffering in a world created by a good God. To share my thoughts on this book, I would like to focus on just one quote. In one of the chapters, C.S.Lewis reflects on the idea of choice and its presence in our lives. We can perhaps conceive of a world in which God corrected the results of his abuse of free will by his creatures at every moment, so that a wooden beam became soft as grass, then it was used as a weapon, and the air refused to obey me if I attempted to set up it in the sound waves that carry lies or insults. But such a world would be one in which wrong actions were impossible, and in which, therefore, freedom of the will would be void. Nay, if the principle were carried out to its logical conclusion, evil thoughts would be impossible, for the cerebral matter which we use in thinking would refuse its task when we attempted to frame them. What would it be like if God automatically prevented every evil? If weapons lost their power the moment someone tried to use them? If lies simply could not be spoken? And even evil thoughts somehow failed to start in the mind? It sounds appealing. Since childhood, I often found myself drawn to this idea, thinking how wonderful it would be if such a world were impossible. At first, it seems almost like an ideal world in which suffering is impossible, by definition. But in the problem of pain, Lewis invites us to look at it differently. Such a world would be a world without choice. Of all tyrannies, a tyranny sincerely exercised for the good of its victims may be the most oppressive. And that leads to an important question. What matters more, the absence of evil or the possibility of freedom, where goodness becomes a real choice rather than a automatic condition? Because free will only has meaning where the possibility of error exists. If that possibility is removed, a person ceases to be someone who chooses. They become a being whose actions are constantly corrected by the structure of the world, not a subject of morality, but merely its outcome. In that case, not only would evil and violence disappear, but so would the very concepts we associate with them: honesty, kindness, love. They would no longer be choice, they would simply be the only possible state. As Lewis continues, the problem goes even deeper. It is not only about actions, but about intentions themselves. Because if we completely eliminate the possibility of evil, we would also have to eliminate the inner capacity of a person to desire otherwise. And that means that along with evil, the inner freedom from which human personality itself arises would also disappear. So thank you for watching, and don't forget to ask the right questions.